In today's video, we're going to take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft is one of those earnings plays which most traders know about at this point, but in case you don't or you're looking for a refresher with the updated stats for 2024, follow along. Now let's start first with understanding Microsoft's pre-earnings personality. If I load in our pre-earnings indicator and I set this to 14 days prior to earnings, we can start to develop a good feel for what Microsoft's personality is like pre-earnings. I'm looking at more than 20 years worth of data, and with the 20 years worth of data, we can see that price tends to rise into earnings about 70% of the time, tends to fall about 30% of the time. On average, that rise is about 4.67%. So if we were to take our price from where this 14-day period began and extrapolate, the 4.67%, that gives us a price somewhere near this 435 mark. So keep that in your head as one general level where historically, that's where we're looking for price to gravitate towards pre-earnings. Now, the next set of labels tells us a little bit more about the implied volatility, and in Microsoft, we can see that the IV also tends to rise more than 70% of the time as we get closer into earnings. So with implied volatility increasing, that would tell us we're looking at the vega component of an option to increase, along with price looking to increase directionally in the bullish direction. So we're looking for positive deltas here. To me, the clear-cut strategy would be looking at something like buying a call, something very simple like that. I'm looking to take advantage of the implied volatility of this call, the vega component increasing, along with the actual delta. Now, if we were to come into our trade tab here and take a look at Microsoft's options, the first thing we can do is take a look at the statistics. The IV percentile is greater than that 50% mark. We're currently at the 66th percentile mark. That tells me that the options for Microsoft are already somewhat expensive. So when we look at something like, say, the November monthlies, if you remember, we were looking at 435 as that price point. The current option for 435, which is a delta 30, will cost you almost $670-ish if you use the mid price right now. That's a very expensive option. So one way you could reduce the price of that option is by coming into the November 1st expiration, the one which includes the October 30 earnings cycle, the one which also has the greater implied volatility right now. And you can sell the same 435 strike here to try and collect some of that more expensive premium and buy some of the less expensive premium. That would be the overall idea for this strategy. So if we were to analyze what that trade looks like, we're looking at buying the November 15 435 call, selling the November 1st 435 call. Currently, that would leave you with a net debit of $2.25. Now you can lose a max of $225 on this trade. And really, that happens if you break well below, call it that 400 price level. You start to hit a loss when you break below 412. And on the upper bound, you have up to about $462 where you have room to play with. So if we look at 412 and 462 on this chart now, 412 is fairly close to this Fibonacci level, and 462 is fairly close to our previous all-time high. So that's giving us this entire zone in which we're looking for Microsoft to trade between. And if we do go below this 412 mark, you can decide if you'd like to either close out that first call, which remember, if you sold that call, you'd be looking at taking advantage of as much of this premium as possible, collecting that, and then deciding if you want to either hold on to this option, continue to play out this move, maybe close out the entire position, or maybe even play earnings if you've been able to mitigate a lot of the risk by collecting a decent chunk of this premium. So that's my trade idea inside of Microsoft. Currently, Microsoft, we're still chopping fairly sideways from wherever this 14 days prior to earnings period started. So that tells me we have an entry close to where we would have wanted an entry anyways. In fact, we might get a slightly better entry. We've seen momentum is just going back and forth here, so I'm waiting for price to directionally pick up movement. In addition to all of that, we also have our Fibonacci levels here, 426, 410, and 387, which I've discussed in previous videos, which I'm looking at holding as potential support. So that's the trade idea I'm looking at inside of Microsoft. It's a pre-earnings trade. It's the classic pre-earnings trade, but with a slight twist to help make up for the fact that I think currently the options are a little bit more expensive than we're typically used to seeing. I hope you found this video useful for those of you looking to trade Microsoft into earnings. For Volatility Box members, be sure to check out our entire earnings course. That's tosindicators.com/earnings. It's included for free with your Volatility Box membership, and that also includes the pre-earnings, the post-earnings, and the smarter earnings indicators. Be sure to check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to send us an email at contact@tosindicators.com. Take care, everyone. Good luck trading, and I'll see you in our next update.